What's up, guys? It's Ben with 2020 election predictions, and today I'm super excited to do my updated 2020 presidential election forecast between the incumbent Republican Donald Trump and the Democratic challenger Joe Biden. So let's fill in just the reliably Democratic and Republican states right now. So let's just start on the East Coast, just kind of the solid blue states, and let's go up here. Kind of all these small states are always going to be reliably for the Democrats. Let's see, Illinois. I'm gonna miss some, but New York, obviously. That's all I can see right now. So let's go to the reliably Republican states. I'm gonna try to get quickly through these because they don't really matter. Obviously, the Midwest. Not gonna do. We're gonna do this for now. All right. Obviously, I don't think anyone will challenge me on this. South Carolina, some people think it's a swing state. Missouri, very close in 2018, but it won't be. Let's see. Tennessee. Oh, Kentucky. Oops. That is reliably Republican. Montana, there's some questions. Utah, there's a poll came out that was like within 1 or 2 points. That is BS. And Alaska. Let's see. So just starting out, we see the Democrats do have a slight advantage over the safe Democratic seats. But all right, so let's kind of move on to the likely Democratic seats and the likely Republican seats. So diving in, Virginia. Obviously, Virginia has been a swing state in the past, but as you can see, I know Donald Trump only lost the state by 3 points, but it's just moving so far in the Democrats' direction that I think they'll have an advantage. New Mexico is similar. Just the demographics have changed rapidly. New Mexico is actually one out of two states with Hawaii where whites are not the majority. There's actually more Hispanics in New Mexico than whites. Colorado, I know that Donald Trump only lost the state by 3 points, like Virginia, but it just looks a lot different. The demographics are changing rapidly, and John Hickenlooper is actually going to help Biden down ballot. I know a lot of people think it goes the other way, but I think it's pretty interesting. And lastly is Nevada. I know a lot of people were thinking this was going to be a swing state in 2016, but if we look at the results, Donald Trump lost the state by 3 points, even though the polls had it neck and neck, and it's looking a lot more like Colorado and New Mexico. So next up, we're going to move to the likely Republican states. Oh, I did not mean to say Iowa was a safe Republican state. All right, I might have just spoiled it, but I do think that Iowa will be a likely Republican state. I do think that Donald Trump will win the state by over 5 points. Same with Ohio. I don't think this will come as a huge surprise to people. I know a lot of people think these are swing states, but Donald Trump just completely upended the political electoral map. He won these states by, I think, like 11 and 9 points, respectively. And Joe Biden might come in on this lead by a little bit, but it's not going to change it that much in Tennessee. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just kind of getting used to this new software. But then also a Republican state that I think is going to remain as a likely Republican is the state of Texas. I know a lot of pundits have been saying, oh, Texas is going to go blue in 2020. But if we actually look at the data, Donald Trump won the state by 9 points. And while it might be a little closer this go around, maybe 6 or 7, or maybe even 5 points, this is going to be a likely Republican state. I know there was a very close um, Senate race here in 2018 with Ted Cruz, but Ted Cruz is a very unpopular senator, and Donald Trump is a lot more popular in the state of Texas. So there you have it. I'm pretty confident about this 215 to 187. I know the Democrats have a little bit of an advantage here, but let's move on to the lean and tilt states. And I'm not going to leave any toss ups on this map just for the sake of doing this. So let's move on to the lean Republican states. So the first state that I want to look at is the state of Georgia. I was considering putting this in the likely Republican state, but just because there's kind of a little turmoil in the Senate race, and because a lot of people are angry at Brian Kemp, There's still a lot of uncertainty there with the coronavirus. Obviously, Georgia was one of the first states to reopen. And also with all these George Floyd, Black Lives Matter protests in Atlanta, um, it's going to be very interesting to see how this affects the political race. It could help Biden. It could help Trump. Is yet to see. But right now, I just want to put this in the lean Republican state because I really do not know how it's going to turn out. Next up, I want to look at North Carolina. I do think North Carolina will also be a lean Republican state. Donald Trump won this state by, I think, almost 4 points in 2016. And I do think that Biden will do a little bit better here in 2020. Maybe Donald Trump will only win the state by 2 to 3 points. But Mitt Romney won the state in 2012. Barack Obama only won the state in 2008. So I really don't see Biden winning the state enough in kind of the solid South. Although North Carolina is probably partially trending towards the Democrats, and having a popular Democratic governor will help Biden's chances. So I don't want to definitely call it for the Republicans yet, and that's why I'm putting it only in the lean column. But I do think that Donald Trump holds a slight advantage in this state, and the polls reflect this. It's pretty close, but I think if the polls are tied right now, since the polls tend to have a Democratic tilt, I do think Donald Trump will win this state. So let's go to the lean Democratic states. I do think that Maine at large right now is a lean Democratic state. And I want to not fill in the second district quite yet. But yeah, so overall, I do think that Maine at large is a lean Democratic state. This is a state that Hillary Clinton won in 2016, and I don't see a lot of movement. I think that Biden will actually be able to, he will be able to, his message will resonate more with the white working class rather than Hillary Clinton's. So I do think Biden could actually potentially do a little bit better here than he did in 2016. And similar to Maine, I also think that New Hampshire is a lean Democratic state. This was the closest state in terms of raw votes in 2016, and same with the Senate race. However, I don't think that Donald Trump has really improved his ground. In fact, I think he will lose it by more than he did in 2016, just because he's very underwater in terms of approval ratings. I think it's minus 25. And obviously, he's not going to lose by 25 points on Election Day, but I think this just shows that he is deeply unpopular in the state of New Hampshire. Next up is the state of Michigan. This might surprise people that I'm not putting it in the tilt column, but I think it was a little bit of a fluke that Donald Trump won this in 2016. I think with the Michigan is a lot different than the other Rust Belt states in that it has a large African American population, and I think that the states of Detroit and the cities of Detroit and Flint will be huge turnouts for Joe Biden, and I think that the DNC is going to pour a lot of money. George Soros, Michael Bloomberg, Tom Steyer, all these big Democratic funders are going to pour money into the state because they know that this is how Donald Trump won in 2016, and they're going to focus on the state, and Joe Biden's going to campaign in Michigan, unlike Hillary Clinton. So there you have it. This is where I think it's I have like a decent amount of confidence. Obviously, North Carolina could flip, and also Michigan could flip. So I don't have extreme confidence, but this is where I think they are right now. So next up, I'm going to go to the tilters. And the tilters, I do not have any confidence in, really. I would consider them swing states if I didn't have to fill them in, but just for the sake of y'all, I'm going to fill them in right now. So first up, we're going to go to the state of Florida. I do think that Florida is a tilt Republican state. Obviously, Joe Biden is up in the polls right now, but I do not think we should invest a lot in the polls. The polls in 2018 had Andrew Gillum and Bill Nelson, who were the governor and senators, respectively. For Bill Nelson was the incumbent Democratic senator, and Andrew Gillum was the Democratic challenger. But even in the 2018 wave year, the Republicans held on and won both those seats and surprised the nation. So I do not think we should invest a lot in the polls, but we should look at the history. Donald Trump won Florida by over 1 point in 2016, and the Republicans won on a state level here in 2018 by a very, very narrow margin. But I think that Donald Trump can replicate this margin, especially considering the fact that the registrants are more Republican than Democrat, the new registered voters, which is very surprising. And I think there'll be it'll be even harder to predict because there's going to be a lot of ex-felons who will be allowed to vote. They voted on the ballot in 2018, so that might help Joe Biden a little bit more. But I still think Donald Trump right now holds a slight advantage here. Next up, we're going to go to Minnesota. I think Minnesota is a tilt Democratic state right now. Obviously, it's all in the news. The Minneapolis protests over the death of George Floyd, which I think is very, very sad. I'm not going to do a lot of commentary on that because I'm a election predictions YouTube channel. I really don't know which way this is going to tilt it. Obviously, Donald Trump is playing the law and order card like he did in 2016. We back the blue. We respect the cops. Most cops are good. And Joe Biden will play the card of, look, there's this examples of systemic racism, and America has left the Black community behind all of its history, and I'm going to be the fighter for them. So I really don't know how this state's going to go. That's why I just have it as a tilt state, because I really don't know. Even though it's been a typically Democratic state in the past, I think this go around it's going to be very, very, very close. Donald Trump only lost the state by 1.5 points. And there's been a lot of evidence that is trending Republican still. Even in the 2018 midterms, the Republicans almost picked up a seat in Minnesota. So next up, going to Pennsylvania, Joe Biden's home state of Pennsylvania. I do think this is a tilt Democratic state. And it is very, very interesting because I think Pennsylvania is a little bit more Republican friendly than Michigan, just because it has less urban centers. But still, I think Joe Biden, being from Scranton, he'll play on this card. He knows the people of Pennsylvania. I think he can connect better to the white working class people of Pennsylvania than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. And he will be able to win Pennsylvania, even though it's going to be a very, very close election. And obviously, I just have it as a tilt. So next up, going to Wisconsin, also in the Rust Belt. This one I have as a tilt Republican state. I'm kind of splitting hairs here. Wisconsin is the most friendly out of the Rust Belt. It has the highest white population. Scott Walker almost won re-election here in 2018 in a Democratic wave year. And also the polls have Wisconsin, actually Donald Trump having an advantage here, which is very unlike the polls in 2016, which had this race completely wrong. So maybe the pollsters have updated their sophisticatedness or whatever. But still, I think that Donald Trump has a very good chance of winning Wisconsin. I think it actually tilts in his direction just because he completely upended the electoral map and it has this broad-based appeal amongst working class whites. Next, I'm going to Arizona. In Arizona, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's going to be the closest, most contested state in 2020. I do think that on the Senate level, Mark Kelly, the astronaut Democratic challenger to Martha McSally, has an advantage. I think the state leans towards the Democrats on the Senate state. However, on the presidential state, I think the state leans towards the Republicans. And the reason why I think this is because it's been a reliably Republican state in the past. And although the Republicans lost on a statewide level in 2018, the incumbent Republican governor, Doug Ducey, is pretty popular. And I still think the Republicans can hold on to it for one more election. Donald Trump won the state by 3 points over 3 points in 2016. And I think it will be within half a percentage point either way in 2020. I think in the 2024 election, it's going to lean towards the Democrats just because the immigration and the demographics are changing so rapidly. But the 2020 election is going to be the year where it's going to be razor thin. So as you can see right here, it's 268 to 268, and I have not filled in the congressional districts in Nebraska and Maine. The second congressional district in Maine, I do think will tilt towards the Republicans. Donald Trump won this by, I think, 1.5 points in 2020, and a lot of people think that the second congressional district in Maine will be a bellwether for the 2020 election. And I do agree. And it is kind of it's Donald Trump's base, and I think that while the first district is going to be safe blue, that Donald Trump will have the same appeal that he had in 2016. I do not think his supporters are going away, and I think they will stick with him. And I don't think you have a lot of evidence of Joe Biden being able to appeal on a large level. I think maybe the state will be within a percentage point. In 2016, Donald Trump won the state by almost 2 points. I do think it will be closer, but we will see. In the state of Nebraska, this will be the turning point of the election. I think it would be a little hokey if I left this in a tie. And I do actually believe that Donald Trump holds a slight advantage in Nebraska. This congressional district flipped to the Democrats in 2018, but Donald Trump won this congressional district in 2016 by 2 to 3 points. And it is a kind of highly suburban city, and a lot of the suburban women have been leaving the Republican Party because they're so disgusted with Trump. But I do think Trump will be able to hold on to this by the very slimmest margin. That's why I have it in the tilt column. So as you can see, I noticed I ran over a little bit. I wanted this video to be shorter, but I wanted to kind of get in everything that I wanted to say. This is where I see the election right now. Obviously, razor thin margins. It is very, very, very close. But right now, I think this is where the race stands, and I will stand by any of my predictions. Obviously, please comment in the comment section below if you see any problems with this or you want to challenge me, and I will respond to you in the comments. But I feel pretty good about this map right now, and like obviously it's 5 months out, so a lot of things can change. But this is where I think the map stands right now, and obviously it's just a 2 electoral vote margins. There's going to be a lot of ruckus if this is the actual results, but this is where I see it is now. So thank y'all for watching, and please subscribe, and I'll have my Senate predictions updated for tomorrow's video. So thank y'all.